we bring in from Ringside Report Radio Wednesdays and Fridays here on TSN 690. You can also hear him on ringsidereport.net. You can follow him on twitter.com/DaveSimonMMA. It's John Simpson. No, it's Dave Simon. Who else would it be?
What's
going on?
UFC on Fuel yesterday afternoon. A little afternoon UFC action.
What do you think about that?
I like it. Really? I like it. I like waking up at noon and having fights ready to go. What's so funny?
Our lives are so different, Dave Simon.
Yeah.
They're so different.
I'm under 30. I don't have children. I can wake up at noon.
Yeah, good for you.
But also,
I appreciate that.
I'm on the air Friday night till 1 a.m., so I need to sleep in on Saturday. So it worked out fine. Woke up and had some coffee and watched some fights. It was fantastic. It was very good. 12 p.m. was the Facebook fights, and then at 3 o'clock, the TV fights started. It was a long time on the couch, but that's that's UFC shows, you know. They're long. If you're watching every fight, it takes a while, 5 to 6 hours, you know.
That's a little long. Is that something that's ever a topic of trying to shorten that a little bit?
I mean, hardcore fans are going to watch every fight. They're going to go on Facebook and they're going to watch the prelims. They're going to watch every fight. But most people, I think, are just watching the TV card. I don't really hear it too much that all UFC events are too long. Although it was kind of rough yesterday because pretty much every fight went to a decision. The main event, though, was the lone submission of the night. Hanan Barao submitting Michael McDonald and defending his UFC interim bantamweight championship. A fourth-round head-arm triangle choke from the Brazilian Barao. He improves his win streak now to 30 in a row.
Wow.
Very impressive stuff from this guy. His 14th submission victory. Barao is the real deal, and he waits for Dominic Cruz, as Dominic is the champion. Barao is just the interim champion. Dominic Cruz coming off a knee injury. There's talk that he might be ready for the summertime. If not, look for Hanan Barao to fight someone else in the interim. But I'm hoping that Dominic Cruz will be back by the summer so we can see Cruz and Barao, because that's going to be a great fight at 135 pounds.
All right, elsewhere on the card, Dave, anything else of note?
Cub Swanson picked up a decision victory over Dustin Poirier. That was the co-main event. A good performance there from Cub Swanson. A tough featherweight battle there. Cyril Diabate suffering a calf injury after the first round. He had to bow out, unable to answer the bell for the second. So Jimmy Manoa picking up a victory there. Not the most eventful of cards. On a local note, Tom Watson, who does a lot of training here in Montreal, he's from England. The card was in England. He picked up $100,000 in bonuses, picking up the knockout of the night bonus. Kind of by default, it was the only knockout of the night, but he picked $50,000 up for the knockout of the night, and he and his opponent Stanislav Nedkov got an extra $50,000 each for the fight of the night. It was a great fight at middleweight between Tom Kong Watson and Stanislav Nedkov, and it was also Watson's first win inside the octagon.
I would love to see a camera put in the locker room or something to that effect and watch these guys' reactions when they find out they've won that extra money. Like, you're talking about this knockout bonus, right? So he gets knocked out. They should have a camera, or rather, he knocks someone out.
Yeah.
They should have a camera on him until, every once in a while, the match ends, and he's going, "Phew, no knockout yet," right? And then the end comes, and he's high-fiving people. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, $100,000 too. I mean, $50,000 is good, but then you're getting the extra 50 for the fight of the night, which it was a good fight, and I think it was the fight of the night, but he had competition there. So finding out at the end that he's getting those double bonuses must have been pretty good for Watson. And sometimes we actually do get to see the reaction of the fighters, because they find out sometimes at the post-fight press conferences, which are available on UFC.com. So sometimes you actually do get to see the fighters' reaction to getting that extra bonus money. I'll never forget.
I was going to ask if you have a memorable one.
Yeah, I had a guy, Pat Barry, on, and he had won a double bonus, and he came on the show just a couple days later, and he was just breaking down, crying, talking about how much this money is going to change his life. I mean, $100,000, you can imagine getting that in one night. That changes a lot of things in your life.
In addition to your pay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're getting the pay that you were going to get, your purse. you're getting that doubled because you won. I mean, in the UFC, it's pretty much standard. You win, you get whatever you were going to get to show, plus, you get it doubled, right? So you have that plus the bonuses. It's a good payday for Tom Watson, a guy that works very, very hard. And now finally, I'm sure he's feeling like, yeah, this was all worth it. Now I've got some money in the bank.
All right, so looking ahead now, what's the next big event?
UFC 157 going down Saturday night on pay-per-view. Ronda Rousey defending the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship, the first ever women's fight in the UFC. This is historic. Rousey versus Liz Carmouche in the main event of Saturday's card. Dan Henderson versus Lyoto Machida in the co-main event. It's going to be a real solid card.
Where do you think they're going to position the female fight here? At the beginning, the middle, towards the end of the card?
It's going to be the last fight on the card.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's no... we've known that for a long time. It's the main event.
Well, you said co-main events. I wasn't sure.
No, Henderson's the co-main. I mean, co-main event is the second from last fight on the card.
That's it. Okay, yeah. Because normally if there's one co-main event, there's another co-main event. Right. Hence the word co for two. But anyway... it's interesting.
English major here I'm talking to, so I got to watch what I say.
So, in terms of that female fight, do you think there'll still be some sort of old school fans that'll just shut off the TV once the guys are done right before that women's fight?
I hope not. I think you got to be a moron to pay for a pay-per-view and then turn it off before the main event. I don't know what you're thinking if you're paying $50 for this UFC show.
No, I'm just throwing the question out. I'm not saying.
I don't think so. I think that there are a few people maybe that don't like to see women's fights. I think they need to get it together and get over it. I think that women's fights are just as exciting as men's fights. What's the big problem? I think that women's fighting should have been in the UFC a long time ago. I'm very happy to see it there, and it just shows that the UFC is the most progressive sports league in the world right now. You don't see women's NHL side by side with men's hockey.
Well, the NHL is starting to fund the women's the CWHA a little bit.
Call me when women's hockey they get to hit each other, and then maybe we can talk.
That's fair.
Yeah, they're hitting each other in women's MMA. I can guarantee you that.
What is the pedigree of Rousey's opponent?
She's a very good fighter. She is a former United States Marine. Did 3 tours of duty. She's very tough. She trains hard, but Ronda Rousey is a bronze medalist in the Olympics in judo. She's very tough. All of her fights have ended in the first round via armbar submission, and that's pretty much what everyone is expecting. So I think it's going to be real interesting to see if Liz Carmouche can solve the puzzle of Ronda Rousey. She's a very tough fighter. I don't know if she's the best opponent that Rousey has ever faced, but she's not someone that you can look past, and you can't discount UFC jitters. You can't discount going into that cage and how you react with that. It's going to be the first time for both of them, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they both react. A lot of pressure has been on Ronda Rousey. A lot of media attention has been on Ronda Rousey, and it's up to her to deliver. A lot of pressure on her shoulders on Saturday night, and we'll see if she can finish it like she has every other one of her fights, first round armbar.
What do you think the pay-per-view buys are going to be like with a ladies' main event historical situation here?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it's hard to predict. I hope that it would do just as well as any other UFC show, but you can't ignore that it's a new division being brought into the UFC. I think it would be the same if it were the first flyweight main event on a pay-per-view. You would question, well, can this main event a pay-per-view? And so far, the UFC has not done that. They haven't put a 125-pound title on pay-per-view in the main event, but they have enough faith in Ronda Rousey and the women's division to put them in a main event. So you got to figure the UFC has done a pretty good job so far. They know what they're doing, and they're expecting it to do well. Ronda Rousey is a major sports icon at this point. She is getting to be a very, very big star. So I think the UFC is expecting big numbers out of Ronda Rousey. She's going to be money for them.